Robots are a very popular topic in both fiction and in real life. Some believe that they could help us in our everyday lives, while others believe that they can cause the end of the world. However, in the world of Sonic the Hedgehog and murder drones, robots are the most powerful entities in the verse. Some such robots are Metal Sonic and Sin, who are so powerful they are a threat to the very universe they reside in. Hello everyone, I am Dusty, and today I'll be talking about two very popular robots. These two robots are the sadistic and murderous robot Sin from Murder Drones, and Eggman's greatest creation, Metal Sonic, from the Sonic the Hedgehog series. These two characters are huge threats to the protagonists of their media, and they have shown time and time again that they should not be taken lightly. Today, I'll be putting both of them into the battle arena to decide which robot is superior by comparing their stats such as strength, speed, durability, IQ, and all of their abilities to determine which robot will be the victor and which one will be put out of commission. Before we talk about stats, let's talk about their backstories. Metal Sonic was created by the great Dr. Robotnik, or more popularly known as Dr. Eggman, to be a superior version of the blue blur Sonic the Hedgehog. Metal Sonic is Eggman's greatest creation due to how successful he ended up being. Metal Sonic was designed to have Sonic's speed and abilities, which ended up not making him only a threat to Sonic, but to the entire cast of characters. Metal Sonic started as just another badnik, obeying Eggman mindlessly, but he eventually grew to have his own mind and personality, to the point where he even rebelled against Eggman multiple times. In the Archie comics, he was even able to find a sense of morality and join the Freedom Fighters. Now, let's move on to Sin. Sin was a disassembly drone created by the J.C. Jennison Corporation with the purpose of killing the rogue worker drones on the planet Copper-9. However, Sin was eventually corrupted by the Absolute Solver, which turned her into a sadistic killing machine. She turned against both her creators and her fellow disassembly drones. She gained absolute destructive abilities from the Absolute Solver, and became a serious threat that nobody could stop on their own. Before her corruptions, she had a close bond with the fellow disassembly drone by the name of Serial Designation N. Later on in the series, Sin would kill Tessa, a human girl that her and the other disassembly drones had a close bond with, and took over her body, wearing it as some sort of outfit, similar to what Leatherface does in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sin would engage in a very destructive fight against Uzi and the other disassembly drones, where she would ultimately be killed, finally ending her reign of terror. Now that you know who these characters are, let's get to the fight. We need to talk about their strength, speed, durability, IQ, and their abilities to determine who is the superior robot. Let's begin by talking about their strength. Metal Sonic is constantly fighting characters like Sonic, Shadow, Knuckles, and Silver, all of which are extremely powerful fighters. Metal Sonic has been able to beat Base Sonic on occasion, who managed to beat Super Scourge, who can be compared to Super Sonic, who fought the entity Hedgehog, who was able to beat literally everybody in the verse except for Super Sonic and Silver. Hedgehog, it can be very easily scaled to a multiversal to complex multiversal level threat. And Super Scourge should be at least somewhat comparable to him, and Base Sonic was able to beat him with some difficulty and forcing him to depower. Metal Sonic was also able to beat Knuckles, who was able to destroy a Chaos Emerald with a single punch. This feat at face value doesn't seem that impressive, but it's been stated multiple times in multiple different sources that these emeralds have infinite power and energy inside of them. Meaning, Knuckles is able to destroy an infinite amount of energy with a single punch, which is a universal to potentially multiversal level feat, and that is base Knuckles. Metal Sonic was also able to beat Shadow, who was able to go toe-to-toe with Enerjack for a while by tapping into the Chaos Force. The feats I just mentioned are just base Metal Sonic's power, because he has multiple other forms. He has forms like Metal Overlord and Neo Metal Sonic. However, his strongest form is Super Neo Metal Sonic. By absorbing the power of the Master Emerald, which is stronger than all 7 Chaos Emeralds combined, Metal Sonic becomes Super Neo Metal Sonic. In this form, he was able to fight Sonic, Knuckles, and Shadow all at once with little difficulty. It took the combined efforts of all 3 and a surprise attack from Shadow with an attack that destroyed Metal Sonic's core to finally put him down for good. Overall, all of these feats would scale Metal Sonic at a minimum to multiversal and a maximum at high multiversal to about complex multiversal, depending on where you want to calculate these feats. Sin is a character who is very underrated in terms of strength. Sin was able to claw apart N, who survived Copper 9's core overloading at its epicenter, which would give him planetary levels of durability. And Sin was able to damage him with her physical strength alone. Sin was also able to create a large black hole that can be calculated anywhere from star to solar system level. However, there are also statements that say that with the power of the Absolute Solver, Sin could destroy the universe. This would scale Sin's physical strength to around planetary to even large planetary, and her overall strength to universal if we say that the statements about the Absolute Solver are factual. Both of these characters are very powerful, but Metal Sonic would take the edge in strength due to not only having more consistent feats than Sin, but also fighting a lot stronger people than Sin and even fighting a lot of multiversal level threats like Sonic and Knuckles. Sin is by no means weak, especially when she uses the power of the Absolute Solver, but Metal Sonic just fights pretty much god-level entities on the daily. That's strength down. Now let's talk about speed. Speed is one of Metal Sonic's best assets. He's able to race on par with Sonic, who in the game Sonic Generations has been stated to run so fast that he can fix damage done to space itself. However, if we don't want to use feats from the games, since I'm using the comics version of Metal Sonic, Sonic, when fighting Mega Man, was able to move in stopped time. Like I said in previous videos, without time, speed can't be calculated, due to time being a big factor in the speed equation. The speed equation is speed equals distance divided by time, and since time isn't a factor, Sonic's speed would be incalculable. And base Metal Sonic is able to fight Sonic on even ground, not only matching his speed, but he even blitzed Sonic at certain points in the comics. Metal Sonic also has an ability called V Maximum Overdrive, which even further increases his speed. Even if you lowball Metal Sonic, you could still get him to infinite speeds, but his speed, most of the time, is scaled to incalculable, giving Metal Sonic incalculable speed. Sin, while not having many speed feats, does have a few good ones. One of Sin's tendrils was able to tag N's escape pod, which was able to cross multiple star systems in a few seconds. Sin would obviously scale to this because the tendrils are a part of her. If you take the time and run some calculations for this feat, That would put Sin's attack speed at FTL, or faster than light speeds, to even MFTO plus, or massively faster than light plus. You can also get her attack speed to FTL due to Sin's attacks with the Absolute Solver being stated on being par with Uzi's nulls, which could travel through the center of a planet almost instantly. So both her attack and travel speed would be around the FTL to MFTL speed ranges. Both of these characters are extremely fast. However, Metal Sonic is on an entirely different level than Sin. Sin is able to tag faster than light objects and even travel at around faster than light speeds. However, Metal Sonic can keep up and even sometimes outspeed somebody who is so fast they defy the speed equation. Also, even if Sin were to somehow catch up to Metal Sonic could just use his maximum overdrive ability to make himself faster. Although I heavily doubt that Sin can reach Metal Sonic's level of speed. Now let's talk about durability. Metal Sonic is able to take blows from characters like Knuckles, who is strong enough to lift entire mountains, as well as Shadow, who was able to deal some decent damage to Enerjack, who, like I said, is a multiversal level threat. So Metal Sonic at a baseline has multiversal levels of durability. However, like I said before, Metal Sonic has other forms, like Metal Overlord and Super Neo. Metal Overlord is capable of taking hits from Super Sonic, who is way stronger than base Sonic. As for Super Neo, while other super forms like Super Sonic or Super Shadow normally gain invincibility while in their super forms, Super Neo doesn't seem to get the same amount of treatment, as he was beaten by a strong blow to his core from a base Shadow. However, the form most likely would have higher levels of durability due to using the power of the Master Emerald, just not invincibility. So at a baseline, Metal Sonic would have multiversal level durability, while at his peak he would have somewhere around high multiversal levels of durability, although it's purely speculation due to not knowing for sure. But overall, you could say Metal Sonic has multiversal to high multiversal levels of durability. Sin's durability doesn't have as many feats in the show, since she doesn't really fight much outside of the last episodes. However, we can still estimate her durability. We know that Sin is potentially more durable than N and Uzi, who have planetary level showings due to the Copper 9 core malfunctioning. However, we can also get Sin's durability to universal. This is because of the fact that she was able to combat Uzi, whose null attacks have been stated to rival the Absolute Solver, which again has universal statements. So this would give Sin a range between planetary to universal levels of durability. Metal Sonic takes yet another stat, as he simply faced stronger opponents than anyone in Murder Drones, especially Sin has ever faced herself. It also helps that Metal Sonic has more frequent and impressive feats than Sin does. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about these characters' intelligence. Metal Sonic started off as just a mindless slave to Eggman, but over time he became very intelligent. He was smart enough to have a sense of morality and emotions of his own. He is a highly intelligent being able to find a way to rebel against his very creators, as well as being able to form complex plans that even outsmarted Eggman himself, who has an IQ of around 300, which is very intelligent. He is also very adaptive, having the ability to adapt to his opponent's attacks in combat, as well as learning their moves. Overall, he is an extremely intelligent and probably one of the smartest characters in the verse. Sin started out as just an average drone, which they tend to have the intelligence of the average human. However, after her corruption by the Absolute Solver, she became way more intelligent. The Absolute Solver allows Sin to form complex plans mainly in ways to wipe out humanity and end the world, as well as creative ways to execute her fellow drones. She is a expert manipulator as well as a skilled combatant, being able to fight multiple opponents at once. Overall, she is a very skilled and intelligent combatant that should not be taken lightly. Both of these robots have similar levels of intelligence. They are both skilled combatants, being able to fight multiple opponents at the same time. Both can form complex plans and strategies, and both can be considered some of the smartest characters in their verse. It's a much closer gap than any other stats, but Metal Sonic will take the slight edge. This is due to multiple factors, such as his higher levels of adaptability, being able to copy abilities to basically perfection through his adaptability and analyzation of his opponents, as well as being able to determine and exploit the weaknesses of his enemies and having a higher level of awareness of the battlefield. Now, before we come to the verdict, let's talk about their abilities. Metal Sonic has a wide variety of abilities. Like I said earlier, he has an ability called V Maximum Overdrive, which is when Metal Sonic has a huge speed boost, but has a chance to overload his systems, causing a temporary blackout. He also has an indestructible, unbypassable shield known as the Black or Burst shields that he uses to shield himself from any attacks. He can also copy his opponent's attacks by scanning their biodata, giving him set abilities. He has used this ability to copy Silver the Hedgehog's psychokinesis, which is essentially telekinesis, Shadow's chaos control, which allows Metal Sonic to teleport and stop time, Espio's invisibility, Chaos's ability to turn himself into liquid, Knuckles' hammer punch, etc. Metal Sonic also has resistances to intense heat and cold, cosmic radiations, and toxins and other chemical products. So Metal Sonic has a lot of abilities under his belt. But what can Sin bring to the table? Sin has a lot of powerful abilities herself. While she has no real abilities on her own, she gets all of her powers from the Absolute Solver. Such abilities are telekinesis, illusion creation, flight, weapon summoning. She is a profound and master hacker. She can create after images, force field creation. She can spread her consciousness to other machines, deconstruction, biological manipulation, transmutation, surface climbing, black hole creation, shockwave nullification, sound manipulation, time manipulation, invisibility, light manipulation, pocket reality manipulation, and possession of other robots. Sin also has resistances to pain, hacking, telekinesis because of the Absolute Solver, matter manipulation, and biological manipulation. Like Metal Sonic, Sin has a wide variety of abilities under her belt. So taking everything into consideration, who wins? At face value, Metal Sonic takes more stats than Sin, being faster, stronger, more durable, and more intelligent. So does he win? It very much depends on how well he can resist Sin's abilities. While Sin can't physically hurt Metal Sonic, due to his multiversal levels of durability versus Sin's universal at best levels of strength, Sin's abilities might be able to turn the tides. Sin has many abilities that will give Metal Sonic some trouble. While Sin can't hack Metal Sonic due to him showing resistances to sort of hacking techniques before, as well as Metal Sonic having his own sentience instead of being connected to any sort of computer or internet, as well as having a far more complex internal system than anything we've seen in murder drones. It's also unlikely that Sin could affect Metal Sonic with her telekinesis and deconstruction due to Metal Sonic fighting people like Silver and was able to resist his abilities just fine. Even if he were to be caught in Sin's telekinesis, he can just use things like chaos control to teleport out of it. So while having many good abilities, Sin can't really capitalize them on any meaningful way due to the strength difference between the two, as well as the complexity of Metal Sonic as a robot. Sin also has no defense against chaos control, as well as any way to get through the burst shield. However, the only way to kill Sin is by destroying her heart and her core, since the Absolute Solver gives Sin a form of immortality. Although with how fast Metal Sonic is, as well as his ability to calculate the weaknesses of opponents, it's very likely that he'll figure this out, and once he does, it's practically over for Sin, due to how fast Metal Sonic is, and how much stronger he is to Sin. The most likely scenario here is that Metal Sonic would hit Sin with a few attacks, realize that it's not doing anything, and then understand Sin has a form of immortality and that her weak spot is her heart and core. And using his speed, or he can even use chaos control to just stop time entirely. Since while Sin does have time manipulation, it's never been shown that she can use this ability while under the effect of somebody else's time manipulation. Metal Sonic will just use that to destroy both her heart and her core, which is enough to put Sin down for good. There is a slight chance Sin could win if she uses her abilities to trap Metal or do some complex thinking or whatever, but it's very, very unlikely for Sin to win. So the winner for this video is Metal Sonic with low difficulty. I hope you enjoyed this video. It took me a lot of time specifically for research, and I put a lot of time on it. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to know when I post next. I'm changing my schedule up by posting whenever I feel like it instead of once a week. So that might get a little confusing, so that's why you should turn on notifications. Anyways, if you disagree with the outcome of anything I said, or just want to share your opinion on how this fight would go, comment down below and I will read your feedback. I'm Dusty, signing off. Have a great day.